Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, joining you here from a lovely Friday afternoon, morning. I don't even know what the heck time it is anymore. Friday here in the state of New Jersey, being joined by Mr. Andrew Toce, joining us from Connecticut. So here on the East Coast, sticking with a little East Coast theme. But before we kind of dive into the whole segment today, and I'm really excited about today's segment. It's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, but I think something very beneficial. But before we dive in, I got to do my quick spiel here. So if you are enjoying that show, do me the favor and hit that follow button, that subscribe button, that thumbs up button. Hell, give me that thumbs down button. Just give me some feedback. That's all I'm looking for, positive or negative. Again, I'm a referee, so I could take it. But it always helps for other people to find the podcast. Again, we're looking to grow this sport, coaching, officiating, more so on the officiating side. While you're at it, if you can leave a quick review, that would only take a minute. I do appreciate that. And every share that you possibly could do, if you're enjoying the show, share it on social media. Also have my YouTube channel. So if you want to go and watch this, you can go to YouTube / Mike D, the referee. You could find that there. And I also need to give a shout out to my partners at Vets to Refs. They're doing some great things at Vets to Refs. I'll be doing a short little drop in a moment here about them. But just check them out at vetstorefs.com. And lastly, if you are enjoying the show and you want to help me out personally, okay, you can go to buymeacoffee.com / Mike D, the referee. Your donations help me continue to work on getting my equipment up to date and all that fun stuff. And yes, once again, I do finally have good internet. Thank freaking God for that. So if you're enjoying all those things, you got those spots. And with that, I just got to do a quick drop here. So pass it along to, pass it along to myself for our Vets to Refs little intro. Are you a veteran or a first responder looking for a new way to serve? Vets to Ref, along with their partners, supports you every step of the way, covering costs, supplying gear, and connecting you with top-notch training. Step onto the field and make a difference for the next generation. Vets to Refs, opportunity, community, and service in every call. Learn more at vetstorefs.com. That's VETS, 2, REFS.com. Vets to Refs, here to help you serve. All right, so we are back, and today I got with me Mr. Andrew Toce. So, Andrew, welcome to Whistle Talk. Appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike. I'm really excited to be here.
So, for the listeners, I kind of got introduced to Andrew on LinkedIn. I was tagged on a post from the New Hampshire Association about what Andrew does. And he's kind of a really go-to guy for getting your head into the game, which is why I'm bringing him in. He was working with pro athletes, coaches, referees, to get ready for the mental aspect of the game. And I think this is something that we as officials kind of take for granted of what we do. I just talking before we started, I've worked a couple of state championships, state semifinal games, and the mental preparation of going into that game can be a little nerve-wracking, just for the same thing for the coaches, for the players, but also for us as officials. So I asked Andrew to come on today so we can kind of talk about and give us little ideas on what we can do to become better officials, not just mentally of knowing the game, but just mentally with dealing with the game. So Andrew, pass it along to you if you want to introduce yourself and your background. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, so my name's Andrew Toce. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Connecticut, but I'm really also a certified mental performance consultant, certified through the association for applied sports psychology. I, on top of owning my own practice, deep breath counseling and mental performance, I'm also the supervisor of graduate students in the sports psych program at Southern Connecticut State University, and I also do that at Springfield College as well. Sports psych is a true passion of mine. I absolutely love what I do. I have a background in psychology, but then I have a master's degree in athletic counseling, and I have an MBA, but that just kind of helps me make sure my money isn't going out faster than it's coming in. That's really all that's for. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, also I was an elite soccer referee, right? So I've done state championships here in Connecticut. I refereed the D1, D2, D3 levels. Did some semi-pro and one professional game as well. And so doing that kind of stuff, you kind of realize and start to understand that, we talk rules and mechanics and where to be on the field. And sure, it's football in one country and football here in America.
Yeah.
So we'll refer to it the same way, right? But the games are games, right? Officials are officials. We have to, like, in our own disciplines, have to know the rules, mechanics, kind of where we're supposed to be. But no one's ever really talking about like how to prep for it. Right.
Yeah.
Like how do you actually get ready? And we talk about the fitness test and like, you got to be able to run. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I'll be physically fit. I'll do my best to stay up with the players. But no one ever talks about the stress that's going to come with it. And you mentioned like state championships. No one talks about, the cameras and the process and the production that it is. Right. And a lot of us have other jobs that we're doing, right? And so
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, this is kind of my side gig, man. I haven't prepped for this, thought about this. I just tend to be good at it, or I have a passion for it, and we don't talk about it enough. And so, the New Hampshire Football Officials Association kind of reached out to me. This is my second year giving a talk to their organization. I guess the first year was such a success, they wanted me back, which I'm always really grateful for and appreciate, because I think this is kind of stuff that, again, I work with the elite athletes and all that kind of stuff, but we as officials, I think that's an untapped market, not just for me as a business, but also like a sports psychology world. Like we don't prep enough. We don't do enough to kind of give us the information. And I'm a big believer in the idea of educate to regulate. And if we're able to do that, I think it creates a more solid foundation for all of us as officials, regardless of sport.
Yeah, I agree. And officials are officials across the board. So it
Correct.
doesn't matter if it's basketball, soccer, football, whatever it may be.
Right.
We all, I mean, I think I could talk for 99% of the official population. We bust our ass during the season too to try to get to those playoff games and get that exposure to get into those bigger games, just like the players do, just like the coaches are doing. It's an aspiration that we have as officials. And I know there's some officials that are out there that haven't had an opportunity to work some of those games for whatever reason it may be it politics, be it performance. It all comes into play. But then when we do get there, when we do have the opportunity to get there, I mean, I got to work a game at Rutgers University. So that was where a state championship was. So it's big stage, and it was nationally televised through NFHS network. So it's all something that we get there and we're like, all right, this is great. And then you're like, oh shit, there's a lot of cameras on me. There's a good amount of people in the stands, and you don't want to be that one guy that they kind of remember and say, hey, that guy screwed up that game, or whatever it may be. So then all of a sudden, for me, being the coach, being a player that I was for so many years, I love those pregame jitters. Like I still get them when it comes to officiating a game, but that's for me getting myself ready mentally. I know that I'm alive and ready to go. But for some other people, it's all right, where am I? What's going on? And the moment can possibly kind of be overwhelming. So how do you go about with trying to get people mentally prepared in that aspect for it? And I know you talk about pregame and postgame stuff. What are some tips for pregame to get us ready for the games?
Yeah, it's a great question. The pregame it's really about knowing yourself too, right? So for you, Mike, like you like that pregame jitter feeling, right? Some people are like, no, thank you. I'd rather not feel anything, right? And so it's really about like knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and like where do you want to be? Like what we would call like your peak performance, right? Like what is that feeling that you kind of need, and then how do we stimulate that and also achieve that every single time, right? And I always talk about the idea that like anxiety and preseason jitters or pregame jitters are really just is an energy. And so how do we use that energy to facilitate productive, like really officiating in this sense, right? And so like how do we make that happen for you? And I think the best way to do that is something we like to call like get the butterflies to fly in formation. Like get the idea that like those butterflies in your stomach, they're kind of all over the place, but if we can get them working with you, let's make that happen. And I would like to do the old stoplight technique, right? Like identify where you're at. If you're in the green, like things are going pretty good, right? Like you're kind of like, okay, I'm feeling all right. If you're in the yellow, you're kind of like, okay, something's going on here. I'm not feeling the greatest. I'm not like ready to go, but I might be a little over aroused or under aroused or whatever it is. And then if you're in the red, you're kind of freaking out, right? You're kind of like, I'm not ready for this. There's too many damn cameras on me. I didn't sign up for this. I'm just a gym teacher, right? Like the idea of something like that, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, and so it's like, how do we get you back into the green, and how do you pregame yourself so that you feel okay? And one of the best ways to really do that, in the simplest form, is like through diaphragmatic breathing, right? And so diaphragmatic breathing includes the diaphragm, and a lot of people like kind of struggle with understanding what that is. And at the end of the day, if I was to like ask all the listeners to like kind of take a deep breath right now, a lot of them would likely have their chest rise and their shoulders rise, and like you're just like taking a natural deep breath. And in reality, that works, right? You're breathing, of course. You know you're alive. Congratulations. But like in reality, when you engage the diaphragm, there's a nerve there called the vagus nerve, and really I only remember that name because of Las Vegas, and it just kind of helps my brain correlate it. But
Absolutely.
exactly, yeah, it helps. That vagus nerve is what instills or kind of touches on the fight or flight response. And if you're able to like control that vagus nerve, you're able to kind of direct that energy or get those butterflies flying in formation in the way that you want. And so like the best way to practice diaphragmatic breathing is like to kind of put your hand on your stomach, and you want to almost feel like there's a balloon inflating. So like your chest kind of stays still, but your stomach is expanding out, like kind of like there's a balloon under your shirt and kind of going forward. And if you're to do that for about 4 to 5 minutes, and really the rhythm of it is like you take a breath in for 4 seconds, you hold that breath for 4, you let that breath out slowly for 4 seconds, and then you sit in that emptiness for 4. If you do that for about 4 to 5 minutes, studies have shown continuously that your heart rate reduces, your cortisol levels drop, like you start to gain more composure and fall into that green, calm, and I feel okay state.
Okay.
People tend to think that like it's not going to work for them. Like I've tried breathing, it doesn't work. And to those people, what I say to you is like, this is the technique they teach to Navy SEALs. And so if it's good enough for the Navy SEALs, it's good enough for you. And so it's one of those things where it's like, if you're human, it's going to work. So you just got to give it time. And the biggest thing that I preach all the time is practice it before you need it. Right? You
Okay.
don't look at the rule book when you need to make a call. You know the rule book before. So practice these things before you actually need them.
So, talking about pregame, and for us here in New Jersey, we are pretty much a set crew for our season and stuff like that. Where I know other people around the country, each week it's a different group that they're kind of
Sure.
working with. So, what recommendations would you have for possibly crews doing that, or is there something that you tell when you're doing the groups of it be 5 officials, 6 officials, and our
Hmm.
championship game 7 officials? I know we're always kind of reviewing, and we're talking about some different rules that could pop up and different things. And just had an episode talking about the flexbone offense and with the nuances of officiating against the flexbone and the challenges that we have with that. But what would you say to possibly for a crew to do pregame in that scenario? Is there something that you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I just like anything, like have that communication, right? At the end of the day, like being a crew, and I love that in Jersey you guys stick with the same crew. That's nice. You guys get to learn each other,
Yep.
you get to understand personalities and everything. I think that's a beautiful. I mean, that's really the best way to kind of do it. But as you said, in other states, it's kind of like who's available at this time, and we're gonna throw them all in a game, right? And it's like, oh, a bunch of personalities, never worked with this person. Maybe you got like a guy who's been a 12-year vet with the person who's like, I just started.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those experiences where it's all about communication, right? So like hold those crew meetings before. Maybe you send out an email and just kind of say like, hey guys, let's arrive a little bit earlier. I want to like kind of discuss positioning, coverage, and our goals for the game, and also really discuss those what if moments, right? And a lot of the time, our anxiety, especially as the stage gets bigger and there's more eyes on us, anxiety comes from the unknown. Like we're not sure what's going to happen. We're not sure what's going to occur. We're not sure what it's going to feel like. And so that instills an anxiety in us because we as humans want to have control over things, right? So if we start addressing those what if moments and those what if scenarios, you start to feel a little bit more in control of like, all right, so if there's a holding play and they or a holding or a false start or whatever, right? Really, we'll go with an offsides, right? And the snap is made. Are we blowing it dead or are we kind of letting it go? Like, what's the what if situation that we're going to do here, and like how are we going to manage it, and how are we going to make sure we get the call right at the end, and like just dealing with all those nuances that kind of occur, especially in the game of football when everyone's got their own kind of job that they're looking at,
Yep.
and but you're also like, we're a crew, man. Like you make a mistake, I make a mistake, kind of thing. And so, like, just instilling confidence, I think, is a big thing too. Is like giving people the credit they deserve, and autonomy. You know, like let them make their call, let them do their thing, but make sure that you're all on the same page.
Yeah, and we do with our crew. We like to refer to ourselves as the third team that's out on the field. So we are a team, and we are communicating with each other the best that we can. But
Correct.
end of the day, we're human, and sometimes as a crew, we do sometimes have life that gets in the way. So sometimes a crew member has to kick back a game, and we get a different person, part of our crew, coming in. And an example, we had in a pretty big game this year, we had added a first year official, and we found out during the game it was his first varsity game being out on the field. So I could imagine what his anxiety level was like because I was
Sure.
at that spot too. But being in a big game, we're pretty well known crew in our area.
Sure.
So being with our crew in a big game, in the first time on the varsity field, do you have any like tips for the newcomers in that scenario?
Sure, I do. Yeah, don't be afraid to voice it, right? Like, so one of the things that I'm a huge advocate for is men's mental health, but also just mental health in general, right? And I'm going to assume that most of your cohort or your population is male. I would in New Jersey.
Majority,
Is that
yeah, yeah,
sure,
majority.
sure. And so it's the idea of like, so it's like this idea of like, don't be afraid to talk about it. Be like, show up and be like, hey guys, this is my first one. Like, I'm a little like, what are you guys expecting of me? Right. I
Mm-hmm.
think those expectations are really important. And then it's for those veterans on the same end of like, I love that you just said it. Like, I remember being there, and it's like, for the love of God, please don't forget where we came from. Right. It's the idea of like, we've all been in that first moment game, and sometimes we don't get the best reaction, right? Sometimes it's just like, oh no, a newcomer, right? And it's
Yep.
like be the way you wish someone was to you on that first big day, and like, and remember how exciting it is, right? Be like, hey, we're gonna cover you too. Like, you make your call, but don't worry, if you make a mistake, we'll make sure that like we can find a way to like make it right. And it's just like, and again, instilling that confidence. And if you're that newcomer, that first time with a varsity game, it's exciting, it's nerve wracking, it's like you're just like, I just don't want to mess this up. And it's like, then just say that. Just be like, hey, I'm a little anxious, and let your crew kind of support you. I think that's the biggest thing is like we are the third team always. That's I think every that goes through every sport is there's two teams on the field playing, and then there's a third team making sure that those two teams play fairly, and that third team is just as important as the rest, and we've got to prepare the same way.
Yeah, and that third team is making sure that it's a game and not a practice. So
Yeah, that's
without the
correct.
third team, it's just a scrimmage game. But
Correct. So jerseys on. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
no, but I think we do like again. I can talk personally from my crew, and I know that I try to get with that person. We unfortunately we didn't find out until it was halftime, and we're like, all right, hey man, just like just relax, like just go with it. Like you said, we're a team, so we if they mess up, we all look bad. So we want to try to make
Sure.
everybody feel comfortable with what they're doing. But again, it's that nervousness of walking in and possibly making a bad call or missing a call. So we always do our pregame speech and we talk as a crew of hey, let's have each other's backs, different things like that. We have our whole little set routine that we do. But now sometimes working a freshman game, working a youth game, and then all of a sudden stepping out onto the varsity field, the speed of the game is a little bit different. And for
Sure
those that are
is.
working even more advanced games, it's the one thing we always said. I played and coached Division III football, and the biggest difference between Division III football and your Power Five is basically the speed of the game. I had
Mm-hmm.
6'7", 340-pound guys who could bench press a car that I was coaching
Yeah.
and they were Division I transfers, but they didn't have the footwork. So the speed of the
Right.
game is there. But
Sure.
now as an official, the game's kind of slowed down for me because of my experience. When you're that younger person, first time out there, the speed of the game is going. So do you have any in-game tips to help that official kind of slow the game down for him? I know that breathing, but it's tough to do that breathing in the middle of the first quarter of the game when it's all of a sudden happening. So, hey, I'm going to take 4 minutes here.
Yeah, exactly. You're so right. Yeah, the breathing is nice for pregame. It can be used in game, but it's super difficult, especially that first moment when your anxiety is natural, right? Like that feeling of anxiety, and like you're supposed to have it. It means that you care about what's going on, right? And so like you're right. The game moves quicker as you keep moving up, and it takes a few games. Sometimes it takes a year to truly get your feet under you and be like, okay, these things are going to kind of be happening, right? And so it's about try to focus on one or two things. If you're trying to focus on everything, you're gonna get lost in the sauce kind of way. Like you're gonna be focusing on too much. So depending on your position, focus on like the one, two, maybe three main things or most common things that are going to be occurring in that position for you, and then make sure you get those right. Right, be like really good at those things, and then like some of the nuances and things, like whatever it is, like you'll figure it out as you kind of keep going. Maybe the first quarter, you're like, I'm gonna make sure I get every damn holding call, and if I miss one, like that's where I'll be angry. But maybe you're off a little bit on whatever it is. Maybe the offsides, maybe they jump a little early, but you're not totally focused on that, right? Like you're more focused on the holding, and so it's just like stay focused on two or three things. Allow your brain to adjust to the speed, and then get back into your normal, like, okay, like I know my role, I know what I'm supposed to be looking at, what I'm supposed to be covering, and then I'm going to focus on that. So I think slow the game down for yourself by trying to make sure you get the big ones, like the two or three that you know you need to get, and stay focused on that. I think that's a really good strategy for those first few games as you kind of keep ramping up.
And I want to kind of jump in on that one as just a tip, as now being a veteran official. Focus on those dead ball fouls and not the live ball fouls. So those holds, if you miss a hold here and there, it happens, keeping that flag tucked. But the offsides, the false starts, that's the one that everybody sees. So we got to hit those ones up. So I'm going to flip what you said in essence of
totally fine. You're the expert.
Yeah, focusing on those dead ball plays more so. And again, you miss a hold. Okay, it happens.
Sure.
Everybody sees the false starts. Everybody sees the offsides, where only the coaches or the moms of that person being held see that holding penalty typically.
It's a very good point. Yeah.
But now, so in game, and again, I've been officiating for 10 years or so. I forget, I lose count. But I've been coaching and playing since I was 15 years old, and I'm 51 now. So I've been involved in this game for a little time.
Yeah.
We do make mistakes, and we are human. And I was talking with the coach the other night. I hit them for a flag, and I went back and I watched it on film, and I was like, shouldn't have thrown that one. And during the game, I was second guessing myself, but I had to pause a second and say, all right, it's done with. I move on from it. I can't allow that to snowball in from making a bad call to having now a bad game. Do you have any tips for the younger people? You're going to miss a call. You're going to make a bad call. How do you not allow that to snowball into, again, the whole game? And this goes for the players too. Any of the coaches that are out there, where you're going to miss a block, you're going to make a bad call. Like I know that I've made some awful calls as an offensive coordinator before my coaching year. I'm like, oh, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, oopsie. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great question, and so it's really about like recovering from mistakes and understanding that mistakes are going to happen. You're a human being. No one's ever had a perfect game. It doesn't exist. I share the example. People always try to argue about baseball. It's like, oh, well, he had a perfect game. It's like, no one's ever had a perfect game by striking out the entire side every single time, right?
Yeah.
Usually there's a field play that's made and it's supported by somebody, right? So no one themselves has ever had a true 100% perfect game. And so it's the idea of understanding that your crew's there to support you, but also what I love about sport is there's intervention points and there's breaks. And so one bad call doesn't mean that the next one has to be bad. And as a young official, I can remember the feeling of, oh, I missed that one. I've got to get the next one, even if it's ticky-tacky. But at the end of the day, people want consistency. They want to make sure that they want to know how you're also going to officiate the game. right? You didn't call that because you didn't view that as that. And so let's make sure we stay that way and set the tone through the whole game. And so you need to do that. So like if you miss one, you can also just admit it, right? You can just talk to the coach and be like, coach, that's on me. Like I missed that one. I'll make sure I get the next one. Don't you worry about that. Right? You don't want to be like, I'm so sorry, coach. I'm awful. It's my first game. Don't give them fuel to feed that fire. They will take advantage of it if you give them that chance, usually. So just be like, coach, that's on me. I missed that one. My bad. I'll make sure I get the next one for you. They're going to have their little comment usually, but just move on. You've owned your mistake. And it's the idea of like, get the next one, right? And understanding the reset. And as players, as coaches, as referees, it's really important to kind of have a reset moment, right? And I talked a little bit about this with the New Hampshire Federation, and it's the idea of like have a signal for yourself, have a body mechanic or emotion that like matters to you. Like say you make a bad call with your flag, and you're just like, damn it, I didn't want to. Like I'm mad that I made that call or I didn't make that call. Maybe tucking it back in, right, is your reset moment of like, okay, I'm back here, I'm ready to go. Like that play is in the past, I got to focus on the next. Or maybe you did throw the flag and you wish you did, and so maybe you accidentally drop your flag, and you're like, okay, like I know I should have done that. Let's put it back in. Let's reset here. There's a lot of different techniques, a lot of different ways, and it's really about finding what works for you. And that's the biggest thing is a lot of sports psychology is all about your personality, what's going to like feed you, what's going to support you, what's going to help you. What works for one doesn't always work for others. It's the same way with players. Some guys love the rah-rah, hype up music, like in the locker room, getting pumped. And then some dudes want to be outside the locker room, quiet, relaxed, getting ready to go. Right. And so it's like understand yourself and understand what's going to help you kind of reset. So you don't make those snowball errors, because in reality, it's so easy to happen. You want to overcorrect. And in reality, all you have to do is just correct. You already know the right answer. You just made a mistake. So just answer C next time. It's not D, all the above.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
And another little word of advice I can throw out there.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as makeup calls. Don't let the coaches listen to it.
Correct.
And don't throw one because you missed one that's not there too. Don't have a phantom flag to try to make up for it, because
correct,
you're going to go back and overthink that one later on too, and then that's where the snowball effect does happen. For me, again, I've been there. I've had it happen in a youth game. I had that makeup call, and after the game, it realized it had an effect on the outcome of the game, and I don't want to have that effect on the outcome of the game. I want to be there, spot the ball, and let the kids play football, and all come out safe. So that's my ultimate goal as a football official.
right.
But you're going to make a mistake, and we are human. My next question that I have now leads to, okay, you made that mistake. You're working on trying to reset. But now you got the coaches. You're a sideline official. You're a short wing. You got the coaches in your ear the whole time. Halftime comes, and we're now walking through the crowd, and we had a call against the home team, and now the home crowd is all over you as you're walking through the crowd. What tips do you have for officials in that scenario of either blocking that out or just on coping with dealing with that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. That one can be hard because it's a moment in time, right? And so it's also a situation. So it's one of those things where, we've all been in that situation, or like you kind of getting razzled, and in reality, recognize that if they were so good at it, they'd likely be doing it themselves. And so what you're doing is already a challenge. What you're doing is already something that others wouldn't even think about doing. It's a lot easier to yell at a referee than be a referee. And so I think it's really important to remember that like what you're doing is a tough job, and everyone has their opinion. They're going to make sure that it's heard. It doesn't mean that it's always right. It doesn't mean that like what you did was actually wrong. And again, it doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. And the person screaming at you likely isn't perfect either. And it's one of those things where just kind of realize that it's bigger than this, right? It's bigger than the game. You can kind of just shake it off, or feed into it. Be like, yeah, I love when the crowd gets on me. Like, I think it's kind of fun, right? And sometimes it is enjoyable. I've had moments as a referee, especially in certain high school games, where I can remember running over. I've got this one parent just chirping the whole time. And it's like, I don't usually have rabbit ears, but like his voice apparently pierced my eardrum. And I just remember stopping the game and running over because the sideline was right there. And I said, hey, this is for you. And I offered him my whistle. And I said, if you really want this, like, you seem to know the game better than me. Like, it's all yours, my guy. And so, like, he then stopped and everyone else around laughed.
Yep.
And so it's like, find ways to deal and interact. And again, it's a little bit, I think, harder in football because sometimes there's bleachers and stands and there likely are more people than a soccer game. But it's like, find ways to do that. You can do that with a coach, right? You can have those interactions, be a personality, be yourself. Because that's what people relate to. They relate to the authenticity, they relate to your personality, and they relate to you being human as well. Take the jersey off. We're just two people here.
Yep.
You coach, I ref. Let's move the hell on, and we understand that things are not going to be perfect.
Yeah, and I like what you talked about before, the accountability aspect, saying, Coach, listen, that one's on me. I missed that one. I'll definitely take a look for it. And I'm an umpire, so I'm in the middle of the field for football. And so I always have the players, hey, Mr. Official, can you watch 56? He's holding me. Absolutely, I'll take a look at it. Different things like that, but just being held accountable for it and saying, hey, listen, I messed up. That one's kind of difficult, though, with the parents and with the bleachers and stuff like that. And
Sure.
my friends at Ref Masters, I just saw them post. It's on social media. Their little post of the best officials are the ones that are sitting in the bleachers, sitting at home on the couch, sitting on the keyboard, or sitting on social media. They're the best officials, that they're out there just critiquing everybody for what they're doing, but they're not the ones that are putting on the stripes or being on the sidelines, because the crowds are vicious to the coaches too. So it could be taxing as a coach. Oh, run the ball. Why aren't you throwing the ball? Whatever it may be. So
I can't make you people happy. Yeah, just
exactly.
Yeah, again, everyone's going to share their opinion, and hindsight's always 2020. That's why, like, watching game film, even as a referee, is super important. Like, you learn from those moments. Like, and the reason that you're probably such a good official is because you've made the mistakes, right? And then you've been like, oh, I ain't going to do that again. I'm going to learn from that. And so recognizing that everything is a teaching moment, even in the moments where you get it right. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, how did I get that right? Like that's a really tough call. How did I get that? And so, like, recognize that people are always going to have their opinion, and don't take stock in other people's opinions. Like, it's one of those things of, I always have it written. I used to have it written down on one of my cards, and now I have it. I'm a big golfer, so I have it written down in my scorecard book of, like, the wolf does not care about the opinion of a sheep, meaning, like, know yourself, understand who you are. And, like, at the end of the day, people are always going to be chirping, but if you're just like, all right, dude, like, that's not really helpful. You just kind of roll through it.
So you kind of led into where I was going to go with my next topic. So we've talked about what we should do pregame. We talked about trying to handle stuff during the game. Mentally after the game, sometimes you walk out of there and you're like, all right, that was a good game. We had a good job. We did a good job as a crew. And other times you walk off the field and you're like, shit.
Yeah, take my jersey. I don't ever belong back on the field. Yeah, just like
So how do you go about going with an example of a story that we just had was a college playoff game where the crew screwed up a call big time at the end of the game. And they were back in the locker room afterwards, and a couple of guys were just very, very quiet and reserved and knew that they messed up. And then the one official was like, so do you think we'll get a game next week? Just had the blinders on of not realizing what the heck was actually going on. But how do you deal and how do you help officials, players, coaches, just the sports psychology aspect of it? What's some tips that you have for them post game now when stuff didn't go their way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, we talked about the pregame, we talked about the in game, and I think honestly, for me, the most important is post game routines, right? Like, how do you debrief? How do you not take that bad game home? Right. Like, again, we do this as a part-time gig usually. Right. And so it's one of those things where it's like, you got a whole life outside of this, man. Like, just like any athlete or anything, how do you not make your performance, your personality, and, like, your persona going home? And so how you do that is by having a post-game routine. And my favorite thing to talk about when it comes to post-game is something we call good, better, how. Right. It's better than the idea of just like, hey, like, what do we want to do better next time? It's more of like, because our brain loves to go negative. Right. So it's all the way back to the nomad days of, like, protecting us and making sure we're not harmed. And so it's always going to find the negative. It's very good at doing that, but it's really difficult sometimes to find the positive, even in the worst of games. It's you still did something right. Maybe you just look the part. right? Maybe you didn't blow a whistle or you lost it or who knows, but you blew everything up, but you look like a referee. And so it's like, there you go. That's what you did good today. You looked the part. Other than that, you did nothing. So what I like about it is usually you want to identify 2 to 3 things you did good, 2 to 3 things you want to do better next time you're out there, and then how you're actually going to do it. And what it does is it again touches on the good. It identifies the areas of improvement or growth, and then it also gives intentional, like it makes it a growth mindset and gives intention to the next game of how we're actually going to do these things.
Okay.
And that really helps. It allows in between those games you to be thinking about, all right, I really want to do better on this, and how do I do that through this, and like what can I prep myself for that way, and then it leads into the pregame routine of like, all right, let's remember how I want to do these things and what I wanted to get better on, and how do I maintain my focus on that, and it creates a cycle and a train that allows you to continue and incorporate this stuff in going in. So the good, better, how model is one of my absolute favorites.
That's actually I love that, and we do have a debriefing as a crew all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually at a local watering hole, but we'll go out, we'll grab ourselves a beer and some appetizers, and we're sitting there talking about the game. And
Yeah.
I'll ask my crew members, hey, that hold I had, what did you guys think? Did you guys see it? Or we'll discuss a ruling in the game and different things like that, so that we could try to get better. Where again, I know a lot of crews aren't necessarily a crew.
Right.
They're just a group of people. So having that debriefing moment, I think, is definitely something good to just discuss. But I like now you're talking just even on the individual aspect of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
today, I know here in New Jersey, we're lucky enough, and my chapter, we're lucky enough, we get all of our games on Huddle. So we're
Cool.
able to go back and rewatch our games. And I think that little tip of finding, of going back to the game when you think you had a terrible game, going back and finding a couple things that you did do good. Okay, that all right, that was good. We're gonna build on that, and then finding, okay, that was my mistake. How can I fix that? So I do like that, but I definitely think that the huddle aspect of it, or the film review aspect of it, definitely is something that we all should take advantage of to become better officials, and help us mentally, and not go back and relive, oh, that was just awful, I don't ever want to watch that game again, but find the goods that you did do in that game. So
Yeah, and I agree. I think again, film is so valuable. And as a player, coach, referee, it doesn't matter. It's super valuable because it also helps you understand yourself better. When we talk about like EQ or emotional intelligence, like were you just being reactive in the sense of like what you thought you did bad, or was it just like one call that was like harping on you, and the rest of the game was pretty good, right? And it also helps you identify like, hey, you know what, it actually wasn't that bad of a call, like I'm actually not upset that I called it, right? And you can start challenging yourself and instilling your own confidence. Or it's like, oh, I thought I did that well. No, I did not. And so film is super valuable. And you mentioned the whole watering hole idea. And the good thing about the good, better, how is I talk about it as like I/we. So like you can do it individually, but you can do it as a team too. And especially for Jersey and how you guys are set up, it's super nice because you guys can have those moments as teams and be like, hey guys, all right, so last game we talked about we want to do this better. Like, how are we doing that? Did we do a good job of it this last game? Like, and like, you start noticing themes as a group, right?
mm-hmm.
You start noticing trends of like, oh, we keep missing this, or like we keep putting this as better. Like the how we're wanting is not working, so we got to adjust this. Like, how do we get better at this? And that's what I love about it. It's kind of like a nice log so that you guys kind of continuously grow.
Yeah, and I know one thing that we do, and as a crew, is part of our pregame is we will touch on last week's game. Okay, so
Yeah.
last week we had this situation, so we'll kind of discuss it again, even though we possibly discussed it at a watering hole. Sometimes not everybody can join because of family and stuff like that. So we will bring it back up pregame to just plant that seed back in our mind again. Okay, this is something that we did, that we got to improve on this game. So let's be kind of sharp with it. So it's just those little reminders, but it's not necessarily harping on it, but it's just, how are we going to get better? How are we going to fix this? So I like that. I like that mantra that you have. I'm definitely going to pass that along to my crew. So
Love it.
um, And one other thing that I think I'm going to steal from you is you talking about having a card with you, you playing
Hmm.
golf. I know a lot of officials tape on the bottom of the brim of their hat.
Yeah.
So put a little mantra on there for you. And when you're having a moment, just take your hat off, read that, put it back on, and get ready to rock and roll again. I think it's something we could take advantage of.
100%. Yeah, it's the what we call them cue words, right? The idea of like that's going to cue you to remember something, right? And so like when I work with athletes and all that kind of stuff, it's identify those words that mean something more to you, right? And so I love the idea of like I know a lot of football officials do that under the hat, but it's even the idea of like keeping an index card or whatever, like where you're taking notes, like just have something written, right? Like maybe it's like something along the lines of like it's bigger than this or something like that. Like just reminding yourself to ground yourself in the moment, like you're doing something that you want to be doing. Usually, right?
Yeah.
Usually, you're wanting to be officiating. So, like, remind yourself that, like, yeah, I want to be doing this. Like, this is fun, and I'm going to make mistakes, and that's part of the game.
All right. So I guess we're getting pretty close to the end here. What
Sure.
final tips would you have for officials, for coaches, for athletes when it comes to? Because I know sports psychology. I know some people truly do believe in it, and I know others that,
Sure.
like you said, are naysayers with it. Oh, I've tried breathing and I'm alive, but that's it. Um,
Yeah.
what last final tips do you have that could resonate with the crews, with the groups that we have?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the first one I would say is remember that because you practice sports psychology work, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong, right? It's not like you go to a sports psychologist or you work with a certified mental performance consultant because you're broken. It's actually because you want to get better. And the biggest thing to remember for officials especially is a majority of players nowadays, or at least teams, are talking about it, have had someone come in and discuss it or worked on it, or they're working on it themselves. So if you're actually not doing it, the chances are you're actually falling behind, right? We talk about this being the third team. Like the chances are that like you've got to be prepared just like they are, right? We talk about all the time of like physical preparation, like you've got to be physically ready to go, but like mentally you've got to be ready to go too, because the players are, right? And you can tell the ones who are and the ones who aren't. And so it's the idea of like remember that it doesn't mean there's something wrong. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean that like everyone's going to start poking fun at you or whatever it is. It's the idea of like getting better.
Yeah.
And our job is not to tell you what's wrong. Our job is to usually, again, learn who you are and then use your personality to help you best perform. That's really the gist of it. There's so much more that goes into it, but if I'm breaking it down into like just nuts and bolts, it's to really help individuals perform at their best, regardless of position, sport, background, whatever it is. It's to help you perform at your optimal level so that you are consistently showing up day after day after day, giving the same consistent and best effort that you can. And that really just starts mentally. If you're not mentally in it, the chances are you're not physically in it either. So
Yeah. And I could definitely attest to it. I have gone through some mental issues where I was broken, but now I continue to still work on some things. But I
mhm.
know I'm a big fan of watching some of those shows that are the behind the scenes with all the different sports teams
Yeah,
on Amazon Prime, on Netflix, and different things like that. Your Hard Knocks, and I know all the professional teams are using sports psychologists. They're
correct.
working with all of their players, and again, these are the highest level players. I remember watching the one about Manchester City soccer
Yep,
over in England, and having their players talking with a sports psychologist, not because they were broken, but because they were looking to get better. They were looking to get that edge. And for the non FIFA soccer fans that are out there, Man City's a pretty good program from top to bottom, year in and year
yes,
out. So
that's correct.
you got programs like that, and I know they use it in the NFL. I know that the bigger colleges are also doing it too. So it's
Correct.
something that is out there, and there's a reason that it's out there. Like you said, it's not because you're broken, but it's to improve yourself and to improve our lives. I mean,
Hmm.
this is a portion of our lives. This is a 2 3 hour segment on a Friday night, Saturday afternoon that we're dealing with, but don't want to carry it home to have it deal with your family and different things like that. So finding ways to cope and deal with it, I think, is truly an important aspect that we need to all work on and be better at.
Agreed. Yeah, it's an all encompassing kind of thing. It's just it just makes you a better, like we talk about transferable skill. Just, you can take what you learn in this realm and apply those skills to like your everyday job, your family life, your communication skills, all of that jazz. It's a super useful field. There's a reason that it's kind of hitting a boom market right now. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to connect with anybody that's looking for even just more information on it. I obviously have a massive passion for the field and what we do. And I'm happy to like continue to spread that word. So Mike, I really am so grateful for you having me on the show, again, to talk to your audience, and just continue to spread the good news, you know?
Well, I appreciate it once again. And why don't you throw out there where people could find you once again? And I'm going to add it to the show notes with the websites and different things like that.
Perfect. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, our website is www.deepbreathscounseling.com. And then our email is contact@deepbreathscounseling.com. You can also find me on ASP's website, or the Association for Applied Sports Psychology's website. And that is sports psych. Oh boy. They Oops.
All good. That's why we love doing the recording aspect of it. So
That's right. You can piece it all together. Yeah,
so
just
let's
cut out the ass part.
All right. So once again, Andrew, do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I do have one last question for you while I was thinking on our little pause there. People from around the country, do you work with people from around the country, or is it more just in the Connecticut area?
I do, yeah. So I have athletes all over the country currently. I even have some in Canada and a few in Europe. So it's one of those things where, thankfully, the mental performance boundaries aren't limited like a counselor's license is to the state. It's not accepted by insurance. That's one thing that people should know, is it's not viewed as medically necessary. So insurance companies do not cover it. It's an out-of-pocket expense. But we have a sliding scale to make sure that it's affordable for people, depending on situations and things like that. Again, we want to make it accessible and attainable for people. So that's a really big feature. But yeah, anyone, anywhere can get these services, and we are happy to be that catalyst that kind of helps make those connections and all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Toce. So take a look on the show notes, find the websites out, hit them up. Excuse me. Hit me up if you need a contact for him too, and we'll go from there. Andrew, appreciate you again. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend here, and have a great season.
You too, Mike. Thanks so much, and good luck. I know the preseason's starting up soon, so
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you having you.
Thank you.